All right, I think we're ready to get started. Thank you so much for joining in. For anybody who doesn't know me yet, my name is Karen Gunton, and I am an author of the book, The Lighthouse Revolution, which is about to be sent off to be self-published in a couple of days. My Kickstarter campaign ends in about 36 hours. And I wanted to share a bit about what I've learned through this whole writing, self-publishing, and launching process. So thank you so much for joining in today. I like to start off whenever I'm doing a session with people just to get our intention set. And my book is called The Lighthouse Revolution. My mission is to help people be the lighthouse in their own life, to build a lighthouse, to build something that will allow them to shine their light, to stand tall, to feel ignited, and to live a life that lights you up. And that's my mission. That's what my whole book is about. And that's what my work is about. So to start out, I'd like to just take a moment to get grounded in an intention today. So please just take a minute and take a deep breath in. And imagine a beautiful light inside you, expanding and beaming outwards. Take a deep breath out and surrender. Let go. Release anything that is not of service to your light. And let's just take a minute to be grateful. Thank you, universe, for bringing us together today to do the work, so that we may stand tall, shine bright, and own our light. May the ideas and inspiration shared here today be of the highest service to our light, so that we may rise up and take the next steps in our journey. To everyone here with us today, thank you for choosing to do the work. Thank you for choosing to shine your light. And so it is. So I really just want to get set in that intention that what I have for you today is really just to help you shine your light in the world with a book. And this book writing journey for me has been one of the most amazing things that I've ever done in so many ways, but also one of the most challenging. It has pushed my buttons and triggered my fear and my own resistance to the work I'm here to do in ways that, I never anticipated. And so it's really pushed me to work through a lot of stuff. And it's been amazing in lots of ways, which I'll share with you. And I've learned so much, and I'll share as many tips with you as I can. And I don't want to be overwhelming, but I would love to just, share enough of the practical things that you feel like you've got a grip on exactly what you need to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up into a few sections. We'll start out with some of the practical stuff. I'll share with you just some things that helped me in writing the book, self-publishing, and launching. So those are really strategic, practical things. And I'm going to share with you some of the mistakes that I've made along the way so that you can learn from my mistakes. And I also want to touch on some of the mindset stuff and some of the strategies I've used to deal with, that fear and that self-sabotage and that resistance that comes up as you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and maybe doing something that you've never really done before. And so I'll share some of that as well. And I'll have plenty of time to answer questions for anybody who's listening live. Feel free to ask questions at any time, and I'll make sure to pause and ask if there are any questions. If you are listening to the recording later, I am always around in the Lighthouse Revolution community on Facebook. So if you search Facebook for hashtag Lighthouse Revolution, you will find the community. You are welcome to join, and you can ask me anything. So if you're listening to this recording and in 2 months, you are working on your book and you're wondering, what the heck I did about whatever, pop over and ask me a question. Honestly, I'm an open book, and I will share anything that will help you to get your book out into the world. If I've learned something that will help you, I'm happy to share it. So that's just a free community if you're listening to the recording. You can also find me on my Facebook page, which is karengunton.com on Facebook. So let's get right into some of the tips and strategies that I have for you. So the first step really of the process of writing a book is actually the writing and the planning and, just getting yourself into that space where you're ready to write. And I share in my book a lot about that journey and how I felt stuck for some of the time and how I worked through it. But the first thing I would say is that if you want to write a book, write. You have to start writing. So start thinking of yourself as a writer and practice writing and practice finding your voice. So write every day if you can, even if it's writing in a journal, if it's writing blog posts, or even challenge yourself to write longer, more personal stuff, maybe on Facebook if that's where you feel comfy hanging out, or in your group if you've got a community. You can start writing things right away. You don't have to wait for it to be like this physical book that you're writing. One of the things, I've been talking about the Lighthouse Revolution for a long time. So I've been writing about it on my blog. So when I actually sat down to write, my words flowed because I was quite comfortable with my writing voice by that time. And in fact, I was even able to go back on my blog and take some of that stuff that I'd already written and build on it and add to it. And I had to tweak it a bit so the voice and the flow matched my book, but it saved me some time in my writing because I'd already written so much. So that's my very first tip. If this is still just a bit of a dream, then really start writing. Practice writing. Practice finding your voice and your style. If you've already been doing that, then you're already ahead. If you already feel like you've been practicing your writing, that's fantastic. The thing that I would suggest really quickly, there's lots of different ways to get writing. I don't think there's any one strategy. I think that you do what works for you. And, ask writers what their strategy is. Talk to people about writing because you'll find little tips and strategies from other people. But very simply, this is what worked for me. I started with a very basic outline, 1-page outline. I thought about the beginning, the middle, and the end of my book. The beginning was really what the whole theme of the book was going to be, and what that overarching, mission of the book or the problem I wanted to solve, the point I wanted to make with the book. So I started with that. That's the beginning, and that really helped me to keep focus and what to go in the book. The middle is, of course, the content, the chapter. All the chapters, I waited to figure that stuff out, but I just jotted down some ideas of what those chapters might be. And then the end is what you want to leave people with, the action you want them to take, and the feeling you want to leave them with. If you could just have one thing that you wanted them to remember, that's the end. And I found actually starting with the end to be really helpful when I really thought about what I wanted people to do once they finished reading the book. So the beginning, the middle, and the end as a bit of a 1-page outline. And I wasn't so sure yet about the chapters and exactly how it would divide. I'd been talking about this particular topic for a long time, so I had an idea of what my components of the book would be based on the components of the Lighthouse. However, I didn't really feel quite ready yet. I felt like there was still some stuff missing. So what I did is I just, did a huge brain dump of everything that was in my head. When I looked at that, that middle, the beginning and the ending, the theme, the problem I wanted to solve, and then the final thing, the final action I wanted people to take and how I wanted them to feel at the end. And I just thought about, what this book could be. I just did a massive brain dump of everything in my head. And then from that, I started to arrange things into my components. And when I did that, I realized that there was a couple of things I was missing. And so I gave myself a bit more time to explore a few more things. And when I felt like I really knew what I have 7 chapters, when I knew what my 7 chapters or sections were going to be, I felt like I could start writing. So that's how I did it. Brain dump, and then arrange things and figure out what your sections or chapters or whatever are going to be, and then what the subheadings are going to be. And then that just gave me a really basic outline to start writing with. For writing, again, there's lots of different things you can use to help you write. There's different platforms and apps, and if something like that will help you, for all means, go for it. For me, I opened up a Word document and I started writing. So again, you got to do what works for you. And if you open up a Word document and you still feel like you can't write, then you might want to try something else. I have a friend who found it hard to write, to type out the book. She was feeling really stuck, but she was really comfortable talking to people about the content. So what she did is she just spoke her book. So she had that same outline, you know, the beginning, the middle, the end. She figured out what all of the sections were going to be and the subheadings for each section or chapter or whatever you want to call it. And so she knew what she wanted to talk about. So she just, you know, opened up the recorder on her phone and started talking. She spoke each section of the book and then had it transcribed, and then was able to sort of formulate that into a book. So, you know, if you're finding it hard to sit down and do the typing and the writing, then what you could do is try talking your book. That might work for you. Or as I said, you could check out some of the book writing platforms that are out there. I really, really believe that you have to do what works for you. That's really important. If you are trying to, you know, do something because that's how somebody told you to do it, it's going to be super hard to do it. And that was a big lesson I learned in my book writing process, is that I needed to give myself permission to do it my way. So for me, as I write about quite a lot in my book, I need to feel like that's really important to me, to feel like I'm doing it my way, that I'm being my own person. And for me, that was, you know, giving myself permission to write like I talk, to write without using capitals, to swear if I want to to write, you know, just not worry too much about the grammar and the spelling and deal with that all later. To not worry if, you know, my book had like, you know, only, you know, 5 sections instead of having 20 chapters or whatever. I had these ideas in my head about what a book needed to be like. So I needed to give myself permission to just do it my way. And another thing that helped me massively, and which I've mentioned before, is I read the book Big Magic by Liz Gilbert before I started writing. And that was kind of one of the final pieces that clicked for me as far as starting writing this book, is that I realized that, you know, I was putting this pressure on myself to write a book that would be helpful to other people, that would be enjoyed by other people, that other people would want to buy and love. And I was putting quite a lot of pressure on myself to make the book perfect before I even started writing. You know, I'd done the brain dump. I had the outline. I had the idea of what all my sections were going to be and my topics, my subheadings and stuff. And I still was having troubles just getting it written. I had this pressure on myself that the book had to be really amazing and helpful and awesome and enjoyable to other people. And in the book, Liz Gilbert says, don't write a book that will help me. Please, you know, I beg of you, don't write a book that is meant to help me. Write a book because you love it, because you love the topic, because it matters to you, because it made a difference to you, because you're passionate about it, because it's the story that you have to tell. There's some sort of healing or a moving on that you're going to get out of writing this book, or some kind of understanding that you'll have by writing the book, you know, because you're curious or you're exploring. So do it for you. And when you do it because you love it, invariably others will love it as well. So that was a big thing that made a difference to me. The last thing that really made a difference, I discovered, was being part of the NaNoWriMo challenge. So that's a challenge. If you search for NaNoWriMo, NaNoWriMo, it stands for National Novel Writing Month, and it's November. And the NaNoWriMo group put on a challenge each November to write 50,000 words in 30 days. And you don't have to write a novel. I know it's the National Novel Writing Month, but I did not write a novel, but I still used the challenge as a way to keep me on track and accountable. And I didn't know if that was going to work for me, but I decided to give it a go. I'd been making all these excuses about why I couldn't start writing the book, because, you know, I had other things I had to finish first, and it was almost November. So I was feeling like there's all this stuff to do before Christmas. And then here in Australia, it was going to be summer holidays. So, you know, I wasn't going to be able to write then. Like, I was going to keep on making excuses for not writing. And I probably, maybe now, wouldn't have even started. I don't know. But a friend said to me, you should just do it. Like, just do the National Novel Writing Month challenge. And I thought, oh, how am I going to be able to write every day for 30 days, like right before Christmas? And I decided that I could see myself making a lot of excuses. And so I decided that I needed, if this was something I cared about deeply, and I did, then I needed to make time for it. There were going to have to be things in my life that I would give up in order to make time to do something that I loved. And that was writing this book and sharing the message of the Lighthouse Revolution. So I joined the challenge, 50,000 words in 30 days, which works out to 1,667 words a day, which actually is fairly doable. I was used to writing, blog posts around that length, so I wasn't too worried about that. I was a bit worried about the time, making time for it every day. I knew I couldn't get up early in the morning because I am not a morning person, so that was not an option. My day times are really variable depending on our life schedule and my work schedule. And so I decided that the most consistent I could be would be to write at night because I was almost home every night. And so I set the time for myself and I informed my family that from 8 p.m. every night I would be working on my book. And so I tuck the kids into bed and I get myself, a drink and I'd sit down and write. And I just made myself do it every single day. And for me, tracking that on the platform, the NaNoWriMo platform, really helped a lot because, there's a graph and you can see if you haven't really met your goal that day and you can see, if you've skipped a day. And I did it for 30 days straight. In fact, I did it a little bit less because I got to the end of the book before the 30 days were done. So that's how I got the book written. So there are other challenges. There are other writing challenges. NaNoWriMo does some other ones, writing camps and novel camps and different things like that. So check out their website, and I will include the links to any resources that I share on a page on my website. So make sure that you do have your email on the list there to grab those. So that was a bit about writing the book and just getting it written. Once the book was written, as I wrote it, I didn't stress a lot about editing and flow. Like I just wrote, I had my sections and my headings and I just wrote. And there were some days, because I was doing the challenge, there were some days that I just would put like a little bit in the book and say, come back to this, you need a better story here. Like I could tell that it wasn't quite right, but I wanted to keep going. I didn't want to get stuck in trying to make it perfect during the writing phase. So I had lots of little notes at the end of the writing process to myself to go back to that section and add this little bit in and see if I could, find a story to tell this point. So I wrote myself a lot of notes as I went. And then once it was all written, I then spent some time just going back in, adding all those things, making sure I liked the flow and maybe moving some sections around. I will say that was probably the hardest part for me, was that bit of editing to really get the book to a point where I was really happy with the content and the order of the content and the flow of it. And then I hired an editor. Now, editing is a pretty massive job, and I didn't want to have to sit there and go through the book over and over with a fine-tooth comb to look for every bit. And the thing is, when you've written it, you kind of just zone over everything because you've read it so many times, your brain already fills in what the words are. So you definitely need other people to help you with the editing. If you have people in your life that are amazing with spelling and grammar and all of that sentence structure stuff and can really make your sentences sound good and sound correct, then you could get help from other people. I paid for an editor to look through my book, and the editing I found is kind of variable depending on who you hire. I'm sure that you could find people who are willing to edit the book for a whole variety of prices. And my editor charges, I think, $85 an hour, and it took her 30 hours. Plus GST. So my editing cost around $3,000. There were other editors I looked at that were, cost more than that. There were some that cost less. You can shop around and find yourself a good editor. If you can, ask for recommendations because it's such a variable field. It was really important to me that I had an editor that understood my voice and understood my message and my whole tone of the book and would not try to change my style too much. I have a very kind of unique writing voice, especially because I write without capitals, and I wanted an editor that would kind of get that. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my plug in. That would get that. And so I picked an editor based on a recommendation from somebody who had a great experience with her and had the same kind of goals. And also it happened to be somebody who was already aware of my work and my writing voice and my writing style. And I loved the fact she put in a lot. She edited it impeccably, but she also put in a lot of great thoughts about things that would, places where I could add things to my book, where I could tweak the message a little bit and make it more powerful. She, shared a lot about, what touched her, which gave me a really good idea of what, bits were powerful to share afterwards. So for me, that was just perfect. That was perfect. I got what I hoped for out of the editing process and more. So the editing is a big thing as well. And then once you have all the book ready and edited, then the next thing is to think about how you are going to publish. Now, I decided to self-publish. I did, sort of read a little bit about the options as far as self-publishing and getting a publisher to publish for you. And I didn't really have the capacity at that time to sort of work out that side of things. I already felt that getting the book written, was a big process for me. And so I wanted to just self-publish the book myself. To get to get a publisher to get a publisher to publish for you, there are some different factors involved. Including getting an agent, potentially, having to submit, the book to the publishers and pitch your book to publishers. And, there's a lot of aspects to that I am not personally aware of the ins and outs of that. That's why I wanted to focus on self-publishing tips for you. However, if that's important to you, that you don't self-publish, that you go another way, there are some different options. And as I find resources, I'm happy to share them, or if other people share resources with me, I'm very happy to share them. For me, self-publishing felt like a good option because it felt really doable. So that's what I decided to do. It took the pressure off of trying to then pitch myself to other people and figure that bit out. For self-publishing, two of the big platforms that are popular are CreateSpace and Ingram Spark. CreateSpace and Ingram Spark. And again, I'll put the links for all resources shared in this talk on the website page for this session and share them with you. So those are the two, CreateSpace and Ingram Spark. And I'd heard from a few people who checked them out and they felt that CreateSpace was a little bit more confusing to figure out. Ingram Spark seemed a bit easier. And two of my friends, it turned out, actually went with using Ingram Spark to publish their books. Just grab them. So one of my friends wrote a book about how to use Feng Shui to create business abundance. That's by Carrie Norley. And so she self-published that through Ingram Spark. And then my other friend, Helen Butler, self-published this book, Paperwork is Not Your Problem, and she did that one through Ingram Spark as well. So because I had two people use Ingram Spark, very, very happy with the service, happy with how quickly it all went, and happy with the prices, I decided to stick with that as well. There are other options as well. There are small, publishing companies that you can go through. There are different options as far as doing sort of working with a group, and it's like partial self-publishing. They help you and you invest some of your money. So there are other options as well, compared to just doing it completely on your own the way that I have with Ingram Spark. But for somebody who does want to just completely self-publish and just write their book and get it printed and get it out to the world, Ingram Spark is a great option. As I said, the prices are very reasonable. You have to pay your initial setup fee, but then it's only a few dollars per book. Of course, the cost of all the other costs get folded into that as well that you need to consider, and I'll go through all of those things with you. But as far as, it's fairly affordable. And another thing that Ingram Spark has is that they do print on demand. So initially I'll be ordering a large amount of books and having them on hand. And then after that, they do print on demand. So, you just go in, buy the book. Ingram Spark prints it and sends it out to the customers, and voila. So as the book publisher and author, you don't have to have a warehouse full of books that you have to send out. It can all go through the Ingram Spark site. So for publishing, self-publishing, this is what you need to consider. Your final draft, of course, which needs to be all formatted correctly for print. And I have chosen to pay somebody to do that. And I can put the link of the company that I'm using. I think it was about $150 or so for somebody to format the document and save it as a PDF properly with all of your fonts and images and everything embedded properly the way the printer needs them. And so for about $150, this company will do that for you. And they have a quick turnaround time. It's only about 5 to 10 days once you send in your final draft to them. So they'll get it all ready for you perfectly. So that's one thing that you need. Another thing that you need is an ISBN, which is the number that is linked to your book. Every book has its own ISBN, and you actually need one for each version of your book. So if you have an ebook for Kindle, if you had an ebook for Kobo, if you had an ebook for Apple Bookstore, and the print book, they each have their own ISBN. You also need to have a barcode for the print version of the book. So you can buy those online. And again, I will share the resource that I used to buy mine online. Let me just find my money so I can remember how much that cost. So I got a package of 10 ISBNs, so I've got them on hand, and one barcode, and that cost me $184. As I mentioned, the editing, I'm just going to give you some costs so you know. The editing cost me around $3,000, and the formatting has cost me, it was about $150 or so for the print book formatting, the PDF for the print book. Ebook formatting is different. So that is a different format style, and the same company is doing both of my formattings for me, $50 approximately for the ebook for Kindle. So altogether, that's $200 for your formatting. Okay, so the ISBN and the barcode's got that. Now, the other thing, of course, that you'll need is your cover design. So you need a cover image and you need a back image. You'll need a profile photo. Hopefully, you put your face on your book somewhere so that people can see you and connect with your face. So that is another added cost, and I apologize, I don't know sort of what the going rate is for cover image and cover design formatting. I've done that myself through Ingram Spark, and they'll give you the exact specs that you need if you have design skills to do that yourself. So I've done that myself. I do know that the company that is doing my formatting for the book, they also do cover image formatting. So I'll share that link below so you can use those resources if you want as a starting point. Of course, as part of the writing process, you also need to have the back blurb written and your bio written. So that's something to consider as well as part of your writing. I actually found the hardest bit has been to do things like the back blurb or the little promotional small snippets of writing. It's tough to kind of take your entire book summary and to put them into a nice little short and snappy summary of what it is. So that might be something that you could potentially hire some help with as well. My editor is also a writer, and so she's helped me with the blurb. And I've also got some friends and things to help me, put what I do into words. So that might be a place that you want to get some help as well. So those are the things that you need to have ready for your book to be published. Obviously, the print inside the whole document, formatted for print, separately formatted for ebook, the cover image ready to go with the exact specs, and of course with the back blurb and the bio and everything written, your ISBN and your barcode, and that's pretty well what you need to have ready to go for self-publishing. If you are pitching a book to a group to publish it for you, then you will also need to have things like an outline and chapter summaries and things like that. So that's a little bit about getting the book written and getting it ready for publishing. If you have any questions, just pop them in the chat box if you're listening live. If you're listening to the recording, again, please pop over to the Lighthouse Revolution community and ask a question. I'm very, very happy to help you out. And all of the sites and links that I've shared in this talk will be on the session page of my website, so you can check there for the exact resources that I've used. And if you are listening and you know of a great resource, please share it with me. Pop over to the Lighthouse Revolution community and share your resource, share your, whatever links that you found that are super helpful, and I will add them to my page so that other people can get help from them as well. Okay, so publishing and writing, those are the big things. Now, I found this is to be challenging to think of how I'm going to get the book written. Having friends who've done it has been invaluable. So make sure you reach out to people who've done this. If anything else, you can always reach out to me, because I know sometimes you feel like, other people have figured it out and I don't want to bother them by asking them all these questions, or, they might charge me, to get help. But honestly, like if you have a question, I'm very happy to help you out. So I'm by no means an expert at this. I just want to share what I've figured out with others. Okay, so that is writing and publishing the book. Now, the other side of this is having to launch the book and get the book out there into the hands of people. Now, I know I said I was inspired to write the book by remembering that I was writing it for me, and that helped me certainly to write the book and just get it onto the page. But the other side of it is that you actually really do want it to be for others, and you want to get your book out into the world. So here's a little bit about my launch strategy. And of course, you can tweak this, you can add to this, you can scrap it if it doesn't feel great, but this is what I've done. The first thing I did is I got help because I'd never launched a physical thing before, and I've never used, I had decided to use the platform Kickstarter, and I'd never done anything like that before. So I hired my friend, Mel Sorensen, who is a product launch coach and expert in selling physical products, marketing physical products. And I knew she had some experience with Kickstarter because one of her clients, Sarah Wilder from the Fifth Element Life, had done a very successful Kickstarter. So I knew that Mel knew the ins and outs of that and could help me with understanding the strategy that I would need to launch the book. So that was something I invested in. I invested in somebody to help me with this product launch. And that can range, it depends on the price of somebody who's helping you. I think Mel's fee is around $500 for that mapping session and to work out all of the different strategy. And she's also just been an amazing support, emailing me, reminding me to keep putting myself out there and keep going. In a launch, it can be really tricky to keep your momentum going. You feel like you're talking about this book all of the time, and you kind of lose like your mojo or lose your momentum for talking about it and keeping on with it. So having that person in my life who was going to keep pushing me, keep reminding me, keep, helping me generate ideas has been invaluable. So even if you don't hire a coach to help you, make sure that you've got like maybe a little mastermind group or have some other, book writing buddies around you that can help you. It's really, really helpful if you've got people in your life who are going to keep pushing you and keep reminding you how important it is. Don't try to do this kind of launch alone. It's really, I don't know for sure. I know I would, if I was doing it alone, I would have lost my mojo for it. And I would have felt kind of times where I didn't have somebody to kind of bounce an idea off of, I would have felt really stuck. So it's really good to surround yourself by people who are really going to help you in this. So if you're in mastermind, if you've got a business coach, make sure you involve them in what you're doing. If you don't, I really highly recommend that you create yourself like a little mastermind. Maybe pair up with someone else who's launching a book, or who's writing a book, or pair up with some other creatives, people who will support you and get what you're going through and not let you get too hard on yourself. And if you need some of that, I'm happy to be one of those people for you as well. You know, as I've said, I'm in the Lighthouse Revolution community, and I'm here to help you, cheer you on, support you, whatever you need. Okay, so I had a launch coach. I've also got a business coach and a little mastermind group in my business coaching program. And so those ladies have helped me a lot as well. And my business coach has really helped me to just keep in mind how this fits into my business and my plans and my work, which is really good. So I can't stress that enough. You know, you do not want to try to do this on your own because it can be really challenging. Okay, so the launch strategy, this is what we've done. Let me get in here so I can make sure I tell you all the ins and outs of what we've decided. So number one, I decided to use Kickstarter as a platform. The idea with Kickstarter is that people pledge to support you by, you know, choosing one of your reward levels. And if you meet your goal, then you get your money. You have to set your timeline and set your goal, and you can't change that once you've started. And if you meet your goal within your timeline, you get your money. If you don't get anything. With Kickstarter, you have to pay 5% of what you raise goes back to Kickstarter. So my goal was $5,000. So that's, you know, $250 off of that is going to be saved by Kickstarter. That's their fee. Plus it's, you know, anywhere from 3 to 5% is going to go to your payment transactions. So right out of the 5,000, I've budgeted, you know, 500 right away is not going to be mine. All of those kinds of platforms have a fee associated with them. Depends. Kickstarter is all or nothing. You either meet your goal and get your money, or you don't and you get nothing. There are other platforms that will allow you to pick the variable one. You get whatever you raise. Those have a higher commission. So it's just something to be aware of. The idea, again, with Kickstarter is that you create different reward levels so people can choose how much they want to pledge, and you earn your money that way. Now, a couple of things. One question I've been asked is, you know, why Kickstarter and why not just, you know, do it, say, on your own site? And I did consider doing the exact same idea and having the different reward levels and letting people, you know, click the buy now button and just choose what they wanted. A few reasons why I didn't. One is that Kickstarter is well known. So for people who don't know you and don't know they can trust you, with Kickstarter there's, you know, guarantees that if I say didn't follow through and get the book delivered, they could, you know, get their money back, and I would be, you know, liable for that money. Number two is that Kickstarter has all of the built-in tracking, and so once my launch is over in about 34 hours or whatever is left, I'll get a list of everybody who's pledged, and I'll be able to contact them and get all of their mailing address and all their details, and it's all built in. And so I figured for the time that it would take me to track all of that and keep all of that sorted, it wasn't really worth, you know, me saving that 5%. The Kickstarter is going to get. Another reason I decided to do it is because I thought the fun of having it all be sort of online that way, and you can track the people who've pledged and the dollars you've raised, and you can send little reminder messages and thank you messages to them. I thought that it would be more fun, and it certainly has been. I really enjoyed that part of it. It's really public and fun. And the final thing is that even though there was a piece of me that thought, oh, you know, if I just did this on my own site, you know, it'd save me a little bit of money. Plus, you know, if I didn't meet my goal of $5,000, I'd get whatever money I had. I wouldn't have to be worried about it. But it's actually good to have that goal and that pressure on you to do the work to reach your goal. So I really was motivated to tell people about the book and the Kickstarter because I really wanted to meet the goal. So that little push helped me a lot. It kind of lit the fire under my butt so I could keep doing the work and getting the message out there. So I'm really glad that I used Kickstarter. It's been a great, I've, really enjoyed this whole thing. I haven't had any problems. I don't really have anything negative at all to say about Kickstarter. It's been fantastic. I will note that, as I mentioned, there are other platforms that you could use. In Australia, Possible is one that started here and it's worldwide. There are some other ones over that are based out of North America, but they're still worldwide. So you could look around and see if you like a different one instead. There is another one that you might want to check out if you are launching a book. It's called Publishizer. Publishizer.com with a Z. And again, I'm going to put that link on the page below. So Publishizer is like a Kickstarter type of platform, but it's just for authors and books. And how it works is that you set your goal, and just like with Kickstarter, people go in and they pledge and they can choose the reward level and all of that stuff. But when you reach your goal, not only do you get the money to go towards your book, but you actually then can get your book in front of publishers. So publishers will be joining in as they see that your book is popular, as they see that people want to read it. They'll be joining in and saying, yeah, I'd like a chance to have a chat with this person or have a look at the book. So you're motivated not only to get the money, but you're motivated because once you reach your goal, you have an opportunity to see if one of the publishers that's interested in your work is someone you want to work with. So you don't have to work with a publisher. If you choose to, then the money that you've raised through the platform, through the launch of your book and your campaign, the money could go towards marketing and promoting the book. If you decided to self-publish, then the money can go towards self-publishing. So you still get the money, but it's just an added level of that opportunity and that option of getting your book in front of publishers. So I didn't actually know about that platform when I started out. I don't know if I would have chosen it. It sounds like a kind of a cool thing, but one of my friends, Natalie Sisson, is using that book. She has met her goal, which I think was 250 books pledged to pre-order. And so I'll have to have a chat with her and see what she ends up doing as far as if she self-publishes or she goes with one of the publishers. I know that when you're going with publishers, there's a few things that you need to check up on. For instance, what that actually means, what they're going to do for you, where the rights to the book will be published. You want to make sure that it's maybe not just in your country, but you have the chance to publish worldwide. You want to check on things like how that works with an ebook, version. And obviously you want to figure out what it means for you as far as the support you get and the amount of work you have to do. My understanding is that you still have to do quite a lot of promotion and marketing yourself. The other side of it is, if it means that you can get your book into shops and things that's important to you, into bookstores and that, then that's something to ask about as well. Even if you self-publish, that's still an option. You could work with an agent to get your book into stores. But there's just pros and cons. So what I would say is just look at the different options, see what works for you, and then just go for it. If you self-publish, that doesn't mean you can never get your book published by a publisher. That's not it at all. But if you're really keen to get your book out into the world, nowadays we can do that without it being as strenuous and onerous as it once was. Self-publishing is actually really doable. So anyways, as an aside, that platform is there for you to check out, publishizer.com, and see if that suits you to work through that channel. And I've pledged my friend Natalie's book, and it works very similar to Kickstarter in that way. So with Kickstarter, as I said, the idea is that people basically pre-order what you are selling, and you can use it for other things besides books, but it's worked well for the book. And so once the Kickstarter period is over, I have to deliver, the book to people, and I have to deliver all the other rewards that I've made. When it comes to rewards, I use this as a chance to offer some things at some great prices, some things that I offer anyways, like one-on-one coaching and some of my various programs and workshops. So for people in my community, they have a chance to get some great deals on things that they're perhaps already interested in. I've also created a whole bunch of like digital bonuses that I can add on to, like, for people who just buy the ebook or the print book. Some of the ones that I've created to go with my book are a printed manifesto. In the book, there'll be one on a page, but I'm going to make a beautiful printed one, a printable one, I should say, like a poster for people to save. I've got an oracle deck that goes with the book that's got all the messages of the book on individual cards, and I'm giving that as a free PDF. I've created a lighthouse meditation or visualization that I'm including with the book as a free digital download. And those are the main ones that I've got as bonuses. Now, one of the things I didn't really consider when I started, and that I want to mention to you now, if you do something like a Kickstarter, is that to have in mind a stretch goal. So have kind of the minimum amount that you really want to raise. And I chose 5,000. I thought that was doable, but it also stretched me a bit out of my comfort zone. It still felt like, could I really do that? So I wanted something that didn't feel too low, so I'd have to kind of push myself out there and really promote the book. But I wanted it to be doable in the sense that I really wanted to get the money. I didn't want to make it to the end and not have anything. So 5,000 was my amount. That felt good to me. And in my head, I thought, if I could get to around 7,000 or 750,000, that would actually pay for everything. So in my head, that was kind of a bit of a stretch goal. And I met my goal of 5,000 on halfway day. So I set a 4-week Kickstarter campaign period, and I met my goal on halfway day, halfway through the campaign. And so I thought, okay, cool, I want to do a stretch goal, but I didn't really know, what that was about. So what people usually do when they set a stretch goal is they will then say, if we meet that goal, I'm going to add on these extra bonuses. And then part of your money that you make in the stretch part of the goal can go towards some fun bonuses. So what I would suggest is if you do something like a Kickstarter campaign and you want to have a stretch goal is awesome because it forces you to keep pushing even if you think that you're nearly there or you've met your goal. And so you can keep getting more of your books into more hands. So what I've decided to offer as stretch rewards, if we meet my new goal of $7,500, I am going to include an audio version of the book, an audio book. I'm also going to include a printable map of the book. And so it's like a 1-page snapshot of the lessons of the book so people can kind of map out building their own lighthouse. And I've decided to include some interview case studies with people that I think really exemplify what it means to build a lighthouse. So those are the ones that I've decided to add on. So what I would suggest is if you're working out your rewards and working out what you're going to offer, is to think about what you could keep aside as a stretch goal, something that would really inspire people to jump in if they haven't yet already, because they want to get that extra bonus. And also which will inspire the people who've already backed you to keep sharing your book because they want that bonus. So, I've got 105 backers so far. So really, if all 105 of those people really wanted that audio book or really wanted to hear those case studies, then potentially they'd be keeping on sharing the Kickstarter so that we could get to that stretch goal. So that's the idea there. So that might be something for you to consider. Some of the rewards I've offered are higher reward levels beyond just the book are the inclusion of a workbook that goes with the book. And that's just going to be a PDF for now. I might publish that as a print book later, but right now it's a PDF. An online book club, so I can go with people through the book all together, like an online book club, and I can share some extra stuff from me and some help from me. A live event, as well as some of my offerings of one-on-one sessions and workshops and programs. So those are some of my ideas. One of the ones that's been the most popular, and I'm so glad I've done it, and I highly recommend you do it, is to have the option of buying more than one book. So I did a package of 3 books together, because what I really want is for people to share the book with their friends. So it's actually a great way for people to support you and get 3 books for a great price, and that means the book gets handed out to more people. So I definitely recommend you using that if you're launching your book as an option. That's been a really good one, a really popular one for me. Other ideas I've seen people do things like checklists or worksheets to go along with the book as some free bonuses, for all backers. I've also seen people who are going to do like an online event for backers so that they can come around and do a one-on-one and ask questions and just exclusive for those backers. I've also seen people include other, print items like, posters or like the manifesto or little cards, things like that will go along with the book. Physical items. I chose not to do any more other physical items just because I felt like at this time getting the book printed was enough of a physical item, but those were on the idea list. So definitely look around and see. If you go into Kickstarter and do a search for people who are launching books, you can get some great ideas. And that's what my launch coach Mel and I did. We looked at what other people were offering and we thought, what would be a really good fit for the Lighthouse Revolution and what would, appeal to people. I also had a couple of things in mind that were like really crazy awesome deals. So I do 1-on-1 sessions, and I offered a package of 10 sessions for $900, which is a really amazing deal because that, if people bought them individually, would be worth $1,950. So that's less than, just over half the price. Less than half the price, $90 a session instead of $195 a session. So, I wanted to offer some really great deals to my community. And then some of the items I have are just the books for people who don't necessarily want to work with me, but want to support me and get a copy of the book. So it's really important to me to have reward levels for people who are like my family members who wanted to support me versus my customers and clients in my community that maybe would grab onto some of the other things. So that's some things to think about. Now, a totally different option if you don't want to do, if you want to do a Kickstarter, is you don't need to have all of those different rewards levels. You can just have a few. But I liked the idea of having different options for people so that they could kind of get what they wanted and pledge as much as they wanted to get a book. One thing that I've seen other authors do, which I think is also a fun idea, is if you don't want to do something like a Kickstarter, I still highly recommend that you do something like a pre-sale. If you're self-publishing, it's much more cost-effective to order a bunch of books at once. And you also want to try to fund as much of that as you can. So I have had this big goal. It's going to be around $7,500 for everything. And so, I really want to meet that goal because that means it funds this entire process, including the editing and the formatting and the help I've had and the marketing and Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff. So it does pay to sort of get paid in advance and to pre-sell the book and order as many copies as you can. So an idea for a pre-sale, if you don't want to use a platform like Kickstarter or Publishizer, is to have a bundle, a bonus bundle. So you've got your book and it's going to be on sale, let's say for $30, a print copy of your book. But to get people to pre-order is you have a bonus bundle that goes with it. And so an example of this, Chris Guillebeau is doing this right now, and I can show an example of what his bonus bundle is. But if that's where you could say the audio book and the worksheets and, in my case, the Oracle deck and the all of that stuff, the workbook and the meditation, like all of that could be in a bundle, a free workshop, inspirational talks. It can be stuff that you've done and maybe recorded in other places. It could be something like this, where you teach people something that you know, or you've worked out. So in your bonus bundle, you create a valuable bonus bundle that people get if they pre-order. And then, people who love you are then inspired to pre-order and get all those bonuses and all that free stuff from you and make it exclusive. That's the only place they can get that stuff, is if they pre-order from you. So that's a bit about how I've done the Kickstarter. Or another idea for you, as I said, is the bonus bundle. Pre-ordering, though, is a great option, because then you've got the money in that will then pay for your book order that you place through your platform that you're self-publishing with. All right, so the actual launch process. Once I decided to use Kickstarter, the other side of it was, how do I really plan out this launch? So one of the things that we did was create a launch team, a book launch team that was going to help me in the lead up and through the launch, and even as we launch the ebook later. And so this idea is from Pat Quinn, and I will share the link to those below here as well, so you can listen to what he's got to say about it and why he came up with this, why he decided to use the launch team process. You can use this idea for other things besides a book as well. The idea of the launch team is you've got a group of people who are keen on seeing you be successful, keen on helping you, and they are probably also there because they love what you do and they already care about what you do, and maybe they want to get like some extras out of the deal as well. So we created a launch team and invited people to be part of it. And I just invited my community, my existing community. Our goal was to have around 100 people, and that feels like a good amount. And it's ideal if you can plan to start your launch team around at least about 6 weeks before you launch. So if you're doing a Kickstarter or some kind of pre-order bonus extravaganza, whatever day that you plan to launch that, plan to launch your book launch team about 6 weeks before that. And you want to include in there people who are supporters, who love what you do, who are keen for you to be successful. If you can, some people who have been your peers or other influencers, other people in your niche or in other fields that you think have, a great level of respect for what you're doing, and who you can maybe connect with even outside the book launch team to get your message out. So friends, family, clients, customers, peers, people who are also working on writing their book because they're keen to watch you succeed and they'll learn from you as well. And of course, other influencers and mentors even in your area. Don't be afraid to invite them along too, because they often are keen to see the ins and outs of a launch. Plus they, really we want to see each other succeed. And if somebody has been a mentor to you, or somebody who's a peer who you really admire, they want to see you succeed just as much. So those are the kinds of people that you can invite to be part of your team. To do the team, it's quite simple. You just basically need an email list. Get them all on an email list so you can make sure to send them information and send them whatever you're going to give them for being part of the team, and a Facebook group. That's the only two things we've had for our team. The Facebook group has been fantastic, and I really have loved the engagement in there. The email list is important though, because not everybody sees your posts on Facebook. So what I offered my team were basically the whole digital pack. So they're getting the ebook and all of the digital bonuses for free. And so I think that was like just the $10 reward level. So for sure they all get that. And then some of them have gone on to go and pledge to get a print book as well, which is fantastic. I really appreciate their support. So what I offered them was that for sure, but I've also offered them early on a sneak peek at the book, the intro of the book. And then I offered partway through the launch, just as the Kickstarter began, I believe it was, a preview copy of the book. Because that's been invaluable, having this group of people who've read the preview copy of the book, because then they've been telling me what they love and they get the message and they understand what it's all about. And so they've been helping me tell other people about the book. And they've offered testimonials and comments and shares. So yeah, sharing the intro, was fantastic. It got a lot of people excited about the book, and I was able to share that excitement as I started the Kickstarter launch. And then I also offered the preview copy, and that's been so fantastic. So all of that whole book launch team has gotten to read the book for free, as I said, and they'll get all those bonuses for free. But many of them have also gone on to purchase the book. Other things I've done in that group are to share things like when I was working on the title and the tagline, the cover image options for the photos. And then once I had the whole, cover kind of laid out, we did some more voting again. I've shared with them the outline of the book so they could see what all the chapters and all the sections were about. I've shared with them things like the rewards, and I got their feedback on the rewards. We talked about bonus rewards when I got to the stretch goal. They've been an amazing sounding board. And I've also tried in there to share lots of things with them. So I've already shared with them some of the tips I'm sharing here today, because I know some of the people joined that team so that they could learn about the whole launch process. So I've been trying to be helpful to them as well, because I know that's the reason why some of them were there. And I've also had some exclusive prizes and some exclusive, extras to offer to those folks for writing testimonials and sharing the Kickstarter. So things that I didn't offer anywhere else. So that's some ideas for you to have that launch team. So if you set it up 6 weeks before, the idea is that you've already got lots of feedback. You're already in a great place to start your launch, whether you do a Kickstarter or a pre-order launch or whatever you do. The other thing I did is on launch day, I made it like a big party. For me, I chose to launch on my birthday, and that was great for me because it just gave me that added bit of fun and mojo, because I was online and I was getting lots of happy birthday messages in combination with congratulations on your launch messages, and it was a real fun party vibe. So, if there's a special date that you want to set up your launch around, that can make it a bit of fun as well. Whether it's the birthday of your business or your own birthday or some anniversary that's important, or even something like Valentine's Day, you can do a whole bunch of sharing the love and spreading the love and tapping into the love around your message. That could be fun as well. You could kind of arrange it around your end of year kind of thing, or, if you can tie it into something that's naturally exciting you, that just can help to amp up your launch a little bit, but it's not necessary. It worked for me, but, other people would be like, why would you do that on the same day as your birthday? So the launch day, we set up a big launch party. I created a Facebook event, and I made the plan to basically be online for that whole first day. I invited people to the event, and I set up some ideas for things that I would do. So in that first day of launch, I did things like share the intro, shared other sneak peeks from the book. I hopped online and did live video on Facebook and Periscope. My launch coach and friend, Mel, and I did a blab, and we talked about a bit of the launch process in the book, and we shared that in groups that we were in. We just basically tried to keep the buzz and the momentum going all day. And the way I did it all day so people could pop in and out at whatever time suited them. I've got friends and family and fans and supporters all around the world. So I found the morning was really big, and then there was a bit of a lull, and then the evening again was big as people were online in Australia at nighttime. One of the things I did that day that was fantastic is that I did share prizes. So for people to share the Kickstarter and share the word about the Lighthouse Revolution, I was offering free books. So I gave away 3 free books that day, and it was just solely based on share prizes. So every time people shared it and tagged me, I put their name on a list, and then I just used random.org to pick out random numbers, and I gave away 3 books. The other thing I did that was fantastic on launch day is I did upgrade prizes. So if you're doing a Kickstarter and you've got the different reward levels, I did anybody who pledged by, in the first 24 hours, could put their name down for various upgrade prizes. So the other launch reward levels that were higher, like the $200 and $300, $400 and $500, $600 ones, I put out the images and I said, if you pledge today, you can put your name on one of the prizes that you would like to win as an upgrade prize. And at the end of the day, or I did it the next morning, I drew names for winners. And that was a great way to get people pledging on the first day instead of waiting, until later on. I had a 4-week launch campaign. And so, I really wanted to get the buzz going on the first day. So it's really good to have some things on the very first day that will get people engaged within that sort of timeline. So I did the first, 12 hours or whatever it was. And that was really fun. It got a lot of engagement. The other thing it did is it helped me see what rewards people were interested in, because I could see, all the places people put their names to win awards or reward upgrade prizes. So that was a really good idea. So share prizes and give away copies of your book, upgrade prizes, and you could even do things like some Q&A and get engagement in that way. And do some prizes there. Really, those are the big goals you have. You want to get it shared so you can create lots of buzz, and you want to get people pledging on the first day or pre-ordering on the first day. So that's the behavior that you want to reward. For the shares, I did every time people shared, every time on any platform, if they shared, I put their name in the draw. If they commented, I put their name in the draw. So you can set up your parameters of what you want to build as engagement and buzz. So reward people for those actions. So that's what we did on launch day. That was fantastic. The next thing I did is I did another big buzz on halfway day. After launch day, I was pretty tired, and I thought I can't keep up that level of activity, obviously, for 4 weeks. And so I kind of just let things I didn't push hard, but I didn't stop talking about it either. So every single day I popped online to say thank you to that day's pledgers, and I did little snapshots of the Kickstarter. I did snapshots of me celebrating. I did little thank you quotes. I did little snapshots of like my little tracking sheet of tracking all the supporters I had. And I always said thank you. Each day I said thank you to that day's pledges. And I tagged the people and thanked them for helping me make my dream come true. That's another little idea that you can do. What I did is I just made this little lighthouse tracking sheet of all these different lighthouses, and I kept track of the names of everybody who pledged, and that turned out to be a fun thing to take a little picture of on Instagram and say thank you to people. So that's an idea for you. On Kickstarter, it tracks your money for you, so I enjoyed that. I could see the money go up, and tracking is so great because it really motivates you to keep going because you can see it working. But yes, if you have your own little fun way of tracking all the people who pledge for you and thanking those people, that can be a really authentic way to talk about the Kickstarter or the pre-launch or whatever you're doing without, saying, hey, it's me again. Have you pledged yet? Instead, you're saying, yay, thank you to these people who pledged, 5 more books into the world. And so I try to do things like that. And it helps actually if you start out and make a bit of a brainstorm of all the different things that you could share, because sometimes it's hard to come up with things. So if you've got a whole bunch of, ideas for photos you can share, quotes you can share, snippets of the book you could share, testimonials from other people, it's nice to have that pool of things. And you can be building that stuff up even before your launch so that you're ready to go. And thank you, Karen, for that. Karen's just commented that it made her feel important when she tagged me in that post. And I thank you for saying that because, you know, it was really important to me to thank people personally by tagging them. I always felt sad if somebody pledged and they only put their first name and I couldn't actually tag them, or I didn't know who the person was, because it really does mean the whole world to me when people are supporting this dream of mine. And I think that, and people do want to support you. And so that's just that kind of genuine thing that you can maintain without feeling like you're pushing and launching. You can really just focus on connecting to people. So thank you for saying that, Karen. I appreciate that. So that's another idea, is to have that sort of, that pool of things that you can share, because it does get a bit hard to think of things after a while. So the other thing I did was a halfway launch, a halfway day, and I was getting closer to the goal. And I figured, I think I was at about 70%, and I figured that a halfway day, halfway giveaway or halfway promo would be a good way to create some buzz again, some natural buzz. And I set myself the goal of trying to reach my goal on halfway day. So that gave me something to talk about. It gave me something to connect with people about and say, hey, can you help me? I have got this new goal. I'm so close. Help me get there. So I did a halfway day giveaway, a halfway giveaway. And I came up with some little prizes, and I did another share challenge. What I would say is, because I'd done the upgrade prizes and the share challenge on the first day, I don't think they got as much engagement on halfway day. So if you're going to do like a halfway day giveaway, the way I did is maybe come up with a couple of unique things that you didn't offer on the launch day. So that was one mistake I made. I think I just kind of repeated it and it didn't have the same impact. So, you know, the first day I gave away some books for share prizes, and I tried to do it again, and I didn't get as much engagement. So, you know, just thinking of some other ideas that you could do, maybe as a giveaway, something additional or something you're not offering to anyone else, even if it's a bit of time with you, or maybe something, a special, you know, gift that you offer to people who pledge on that day alone. So that's another day you could come up with a bit of a strategy for halfway day. I did meet my goal of hitting 5,000 people on halfway day, and that was fantastic. That was so good. One of the things that worked well on that day is I hung out a bit on Facebook Live, and I did some live video. And because I've got the Oracle deck that goes with the Lighthouse Revolution book, it's got all the little messages in like little card format as a deck. I hopped on Facebook Live and I pulled cards for people, and that got a ton of engagement. People really liked seeing the little messages of the Lighthouse, and people who didn't know as much about the messages of the Lighthouse Revolution then learned what I was talking about. So even if all you do is you take your book and you say, okay, hop on, and I'll, give you I'll flip to any page and I'll give you one little bit of advice that might help you, or one little bit of inspiration. That could be an idea. Or, even if you came up with something to give on that day, a checklist that you could offer to people, or some free thing that would really help them right then and there, that could make a big difference. So that is one thing that did help me that I hadn't done yet, is I hopped on Facebook Live and I started pulling cards, pulling messages from the book, and people learned about the book, which was cool. So that was halfway day. Then things have kind of died down again, and now we're at the end. I'm in that last, 34 hours or whatever until the Kickstarter ends. And I think, once again, you need a little bit of a strategy for that final couple of days. So one thing that I would recommend is, by the end of the 4 weeks of launching, however you decide to launch, you'll feel a bit like you've already done everything. And so doing something like this, which is maybe, or, a webinar, or a little online workshop, or a live Q&A where you help people live, or you, maybe do an interview with someone. If you were writing a novel, you might not be able to, give away handy tips, but, maybe if you could do an interview with someone, or get someone to interview you, and do like a book talk, and talk about your work and talk about your journey. Something like that in your final couple of days, I think, is really valuable, because then what you're doing is, and give yourself, those final 2 weeks, there's been a real lull, in the last 10 days or so. And so in those last 10 days, what I should have been doing was promoting this talk I'm doing right now. But I didn't think of doing this talk until a couple of days ago. So I still promoted it. But if I was going to do it differently, what I would have done for the last couple of days is plan something like an online event, like a talk or a Q&A or an interview with someone or a webinar or whatever you want to call it, and promote that. Instead of, still promoting the book launch bit, you could promote the thing that you're going to do. And then from that, if you can get lots of people joining in on that and building the buzz around that, then now you've got an engaged audience again to talk about your book with. So that's an idea to consider for the end. Again, saving something that you haven't done yet and coming up with that last final thing that you'll do to build buzz and really promoting that. Instead of, feeling like you're still promoting the same book launch you've been promoting for 27 days. So that's an idea for you as well. Another thing that I would suggest that you create in your pre-launch phase, when you've got your book launch team and you're getting feedback from your intro and feedback from your preview copy and feedback from people who've seen the title and seen the cover and they're excited about it, is to create a promo page. So a promo page is a one-stop handy spot on your website, or even if you don't have a website, if you did it, on Facebook and have like a promo album maybe. And what you want to do in that is have the link, obviously, to your buy page, your Kickstarter or your pre-order page. And you want to have things like if you've got the preview of the intro or something like that there. And then you want to have all of your little quote images, snippets from the book, your little testimonial images from all the awesome things people have said, and you want to have maybe some links to make it easy for people to share what you're doing. Especially if you're going to do a share challenge, make it super easy for people to share so they can grab an image they like, they can click the share button and make it easy for people. So that's another idea for you, is make it easy, especially for your book launch team of 100 people. You want to make it easy for them to share what you're doing. So a promo page is great. And I'll put an example of my promo page in the links below so you can see what I've got there. Any videos that you've done. I've done some videos about the book, and I've done some videos about for the Kickstarter page, I did a little video. You could just do a live video on Facebook and talk a bit about your book and why you're passionate to share your story with the world and link to that. That would be something super easy for people to share. So that's an idea for you, is to have a promo page ready to go. Have those shareable images and quote images. Have your rewards images. If you have the different rewards levels, make a little image for each of those reward levels, because then you can promote those. Or if you're going to use them as upgrade prizes, people can just put their name below them to win a prize or be in the running to win a prize. You definitely want to have a video for your Kickstarter page, or if you're selling from your website on that page, a video of you talking about what you love. So those are some things to get ready to use during the launch phase. All right, so that's kind of the whole map of what I've done. One more thing that I will be doing is another push when I've got the ebook up on Kindle. So that will be another big kind of launch push where I probably will have the ebook up either for free or like 99 cents or something like that, and do a big push for people to grab the ebook and try to get the book out to as many people as I can, and in the eyes of as many people as I can. Now, for that strategy, I'm going to really work on connecting with some of my peers and my mentors and the influencers in, our field, and see if I can get my message out wider, because what I've discovered is that it's all people pretty well who know me and love me who've pre-ordered the book on Kickstarter. So I want to get my message out wider and further. If I can get the ebook into the hands of people, I think that will be great, because then they'll get to know my message of the Lighthouse Revolution. So I'm going to do a big launch around the ebook, but I'm not going to do that until all the print book stuff and the Kickstarter stuff is all settled and those rewards have been delivered. For that ebook push, a really great strategy is to make sure that you have links in your book to get some extra stuff from you. So people click on the link in the ebook and they go to your site and they pop their name in an email list, and they can then get extra stuff for you. So if you were writing, again, this is a place where you could do things like the visualization, the meditation, the worksheets, or the tracking sheet, or the printable map, or the printable manifesto, or any of those kinds of digital extra bonus goodies and freebies. You want people to go from your book into your site and give you your email address in exchange for some awesome stuff that they'll love because they love the book. And that way you can keep connecting with them. And then, if you were going to write another book, you've got this massive audience who already loves what you do. If you are going to create the companion book, you've got people who already will want to buy it. If you're going to offer something extra, some coaching, some one-on-one stuff, some workshops, whatever, you've got people who already know your message and love what you do. So that's a whole other launch strategy, is around doing a freebie giveaway of the ebook, with people then coming to get more from you straight from the ebook. One of the things I've got with my book is for the Lighthouse Revolution is a playlist on Spotify. So I've linked that in the book and said, come, and get some inspiration from this playlist and tell me what songs you love, that remind you of the Lighthouse Revolution. And I've got the online community, the free Lighthouse Revolution community. So, people can come right in there and connect and say, hey, and get help and share what they want to do to light their light up and to shine their light in the world. So that's a simple thing that's allows people to connect with you right away. So that's another strategy to consider, is an ebook, like Kindle strategy of doing a giveaway or a freebie day and getting people to connect with you that way. All right, so that is basically my entire process and launch strategy in a nutshell. I mentioned a couple of things that I didn't really do well, or didn't do as good as I think I could have. One is that I only gave myself 4 weeks pre-launch to start that book launch team. And I wish I'd given myself 6 weeks. You can do it in 4, but if you're planning ahead, try to give yourself 6 weeks with that pre-launch team, and to give yourself that time to set up your Kickstarter. The Kickstarter takes a bit of time to set up if you do Kickstarter or any other platform like that, because you need to, enter in all of the rewards. You need to make a little video. You need to add some images. And it takes time also when you're using Kickstarter to get your name and your identity and everything confirmed. So make sure you give yourself a few days for that. Oh, one other thing I should mention about Kickstarter is that if you've got your goal, like I've got my goal of $5,000, and then I had all my reward levels. So, to buy the book was $30, and that came, of course, with all of the ebook and all of the digital extras. So that was $30. And then there's a spot to put your shipping charge. And so I worked out that it would be approximately $10 in Australia to ship the book, including packaging and, all of that. And so, $30 plus $10 for shipping. People then use their, credit card details and hit pledge to get the book. That's a total of $40. That goes towards your Kickstarter total. So the Kickstarter total includes the reward plus whatever shipping you've entered. So that's something to note, because the $5,000 would have paid for most of the book, but once the shipping was included in that, I needed to ship $100 right there. I'm at almost $1,000 to post out that many books. So, it's something to keep in mind. I do think it's good to not say, to have your bare minimum of your Kickstarter goal so you can actually get the money. But that's why you really want to have that stretch goal, because once your shipping is included in that, it will, your money that you get from Kickstarter has got to pay for all of that. So it's something to consider. I've also, of course, had to consider GST on anybody who orders in Australia. And as I mentioned already, the processing fees, the Kickstarter fee, and then, of course, and I've mentioned the formatting fee, the I've paid for some launch help if you're going to do any ads on Facebook. That's another one to consider, editing and your ISBNs and barcode. And then, of course, the actual printing of the book. And that's around, I can't remember exactly. I think they're like around $3 a book. So plus then the shipping it out and, you know, all of that. So you want to incorporate and kind of get clear about your funds before that. You know, what is the bare minimum that you need to make this book happen? And then what's your stretch goal? Another thing with the shipping thing, I mentioned that, you know, the 3-book thing was an awesome option, and a lot of people have chosen that, and I'm just so grateful for that. I'm really, really glad I put that one as one of the rewards. What I probably would have done is also had, because I've got the print book plus shipping, is I would have done a print book pickup only. Because some people have said, you know, can I just get the book? And then, you know, like people in my community, you know, people, my lovely neighbor across the street, you know, so that would have made it a little bit easier for people who, you know, lived near me to just, I could just give them the book and not worry about that shipping charge. So it was just something that we had to play with a few times, get people to choose a different reward level and blah, 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 because you can't not tick the shipping once it's included. So that's one last little tip for you. Okay, mistakes that I made. So I didn't give myself enough pre-launch. It worked out fine, but 6 weeks would have been more comfortable than 4. I think I could have done a better job of connecting with some of the influencers and some of the connections I have. I'm so lucky. I have such a great community of people. And one of the reasons I wanted to use a platform like Kickstarter or do a pre-order is because I wanted to tap into the people who already love what I do. And I think I could have done a better job of reaching out to some of the influencers in my niche and connecting with them, and maybe offering to say, you know, give them a preview copy of the book, or give them a book to give away to their community, or give them, you know, a blog post or a free audio, or, you know, something like that, you know, where I could have just given away stuff for free. And I think that when it comes to doing the launch for the ebook, that, you know, giveaway, I will work on that more to get my message out. And now if you don't have a very big community, and if you're feeling like, oh, but who am I going to do this Kickstarter to? So I've got an email list of 4,000 plus people. I've got a Facebook page, you know, with 10,000 fans. I've got a group with 500 in it. So, I have an amazing, wonderful, gorgeous, big community. But I will tell you that I have got 105 backers on my Kickstarter, 105, and almost all of them, I would say 90% of them are people I know well. Like, I consider them online friends or real life friends or family, previous clients, people I've worked with, people I know. So if you're feeling like I don't have a big community, I don't have 4,000 people on my email list to launch my book to and to get them to buy and support this book so I can get it published, please do not worry about that, because I learned that you only need 100 people. And I bet you know 100 people. My family, I'm going to get emotional. I can feel it already. My family and my friends and people who know me are the ones who backed this book. And I'm so grateful for that. So do not discount your community that you've got right now. You have enough people in your world to make this dream come true. I promise you that. So if you want to build up your community and get your book out further, that's where you start connecting with people and say, I'm doing this book. I would love to give you a guest post and tell you about it, tell your community about it. I would love to, do you have a podcast? Could we have a chat about the book? Or will you like to come on my podcast so we can have a chat about the book? Connect with people. You are surrounded right now with people who absolutely adore what you do. And this is where having that book launch team can be helpful too, because you can say to your book launch team, I really would like to connect with somebody who has a blog about dating online. Does anyone know anybody? And then you could connect with those people. So that's something that you can do right away, even before you are started writing. You can start connecting with people and talking about what you love, talking about, you know, what lights you up, talking about your creativity, sharing your stories, and you can start building your community right away and connecting with those influencers and those supporters and peers and mentors, because they, I guarantee you, will love to connect with you, and people love to meet up with other people who are lighthouses, who care about what they do and are beaming their light out to the world. So you don't need to have a massive group, a massive list. You don't need to have, you know, a huge number of people supporting you already to be able to launch your book. Turns out you need 100 people, and you can make it happen, which is amazing. You know, that for me, that's 100 people who know me already. So in a way, that's exciting, because it means I've still got a whole massive amount of people in the world to reach, you know, to touch with this book. And I have to say that's one of the best things that happened with writing this book and putting it out into the world, is that people who support have shown their support. It's lifted me and ignited me in ways I couldn't imagine. Because I work with a lot of women in business, many of my friends and family have never had the opportunity to work with me and, you know, hear more about my work. But writing this book, which is not for women in business, it's for all women, writing this book gave me something to offer to a big group of people, to the whole world, and to people like my mom, you know, my aunts and my best friends, and, you know, my daughter one day. So this book has been something that's, you know, really been for more of the general public and allowed people who really are, you know, interested in what I do and care about what I do to support me. And that's been amazing. And that's why, you know, whatever your little dream is, whatever you're thinking of launching or creating or writing, do it. Give yourself permission to do it, because the rewards far outweigh the challenges and the fears. And doing the Kickstarter has meant that every single day I've seen people, you know, talk about what the book means to them, talk about what the Lighthouse means to them. And it's been very genuine and very igniting and very authentic and fun. So it's not been that kind of thing where you feel like, oh, you know, I'm selling all the time with this book. It's not been that at all. It's been like, people are like, yes, I'm so excited. This person has a book. This is so awesome. You know, grab their book. And a book is just a beautiful physical thing that people love to have. And it's an easy way for them to support you. So do it. Do it. It's so, so good. I can't even put into words how good it is, how amazing it is to have that support and that that incoming feedback and that incoming love for you over the course of 4 weeks has been amazing. Okay. I think, as I mentioned, I could have done a little bit more pre-launch buzz building and list building, you know, again, that's connecting with people and maybe getting on some podcasts and getting on some other people's blogs and hanging out in communities and telling people more about what I did. I didn't really give myself enough time to do that because I was so focused on trying to figure out the actual book launch bit. But that's something I think I could have done better. I also could have, I have some rewards in there. Like I mentioned, this 10 session package of one-on-one sessions. That's an amazing deal. And I've got, you know, an event, and I've got a program for women in business. And I think I could have pushed those things a little bit more, promoted them a little bit more, maybe done some specific promo periods. So let's say in 4 weeks, you know, I could have done 4 different little mini pushes for 4 of the different reward levels. One of my reward levels, which I put in there just as a, you know, you never know. You always got to put one on there that you think, you never know, someone might want it. And I put a sponsorship thing I could focus on one other business and put them in the back of the book as an example of a lighthouse and do a bit of a case study on them and include them in the book and get their business in front of more audience and, you know, send that out to my list and everything. So I did a little sponsorship package and it's on there, but I've never even, you know, talked to anyone about it. If I really wanted to, you know, make that happen, I could have connected with people and said, hey, you know, I've got this thing and I'm going to offer it to just 3 people. And do you want to be one of those people? And this is what you get in exchange for your sponsorship. You know, so I could have done things like that a bit more. And then the other thing is that I probably could have just focused on the book launch. I've also got a program that I'm about to run for women in business called Illuminate. And so I've been and that's one of the rewards in the Kickstarter. And it's on for an amazing deal. So I started the launch of that, and I feel like my brain's a little bit in two places. And I think it would have just been easier to focus on one thing. And that's how my brain is, though. So that's just one thing for me. What's worked well? Well, people who love me and the Lighthouse Revolution already are massively involved, and that's just been amazing. Like, that's blown my mind. The support and the encouragement and the excitement and the genuine love for this, and yeah, makes it worth it. Launch your book. Put your work into the world. Don't be afraid to share your creativity, your project, your thing, because the love that you get from people in this process is absolutely amazing. The upgrade prizes, as I said, on launch day, fantastic. It's such a good idea. Do that for sure at some point in your launch. Doing the Facebook Live videos have been amazing. So much engagement in those. People that I've never even, knew were fans of my page or connecting with me. It's just been a great way to connect with more people. So definitely that's been a winner. Doing that big launch day and the halfway day have been excellent. I'm really glad I've done those. And the 3-book package reward was a great option as well. So those were things that worked really, really well. So that is my entire big, long list of things I wanted to share. There are a couple of things that have inspired me on this journey. I've already mentioned Liz Gilbert's Big Magic. That book just totally affected my perception of getting my book out into the world and sharing my creativity with the world and just getting it done and giving myself permission to do it. If you've not read that book, or if you're not into reading the book, I can even share a great interview with her that I think might really change things for you. So that was massively inspiring. Stephen Pressfield's Do the Work is another one that inspired me. He talks a lot in there about, again, the same thing, getting your creativity in the world, out to the world, getting your project written, whatever it is, whether it's a book or some other thing that you're creating, getting it done and getting it out. And there's a podcast that I've been loving from Danielle Laporte and Linda Siverston called Beautiful Writers Podcast, and I've just been in love with that. I really enjoyed those interviews. They've really inspired me to keep doing the work. As I mentioned, there were some other things like Pat Quinn's book launch team. I'll put the link to that below. And some of the people that have helped me, as well as the different platforms I've used. I'll put all the links below to those places so that you've got them. And that, I think, is everything that I hoped to tell you about. Do you have any questions? If you're listening to the recording and you have a question, please pop over to the Lighthouse Revolution community. Ask me anything. If you are listening to the recording within the next 30 hours or so, one of the things I would love to do is if you pop over and back my book on Kickstarter, I would like to offer you the chance to do some one-on-one with me. We could work out your book plan. We could work out your launch. We could just work out ideas. We could brainstorm whatever you're feeling stuck with, whatever mindset block you've got. So I'd like to offer that to somebody that has listened to this recording and backs the book, even if you've already backed the book, and if you're interested in having your name in the draw to chat with me one-on-one, I'm going to pull a prize for that. So all you've got to do is just pop over to the Facebook page, and where you see the book, your book spotlight image, you can just pop your name there and say, yeah, please put me in the draw for that prize. I backed your book. I'd love to work with you on making your book dream happen. One thing I didn't talk a lot about, and I meant to, was the mindset stuff and, trying to push through the mindset and the blocks and the fears. One of the hard thing about doing a book launch is really keeping that momentum going. And I did mention having people around you to support you is massive. And I think for me, it's just been, one thing that's made a big difference to me is just focusing on my why, and the fact that I really believe that the more people shine their light in the world, the more people who build lighthouses and be lighthouses and shine their light, the more we'll give others permission to do the same. And so every time I just remembered that that's really what the goal of this book is to get this book into people's hands so that they can have the tools to light up and to shine bright and to stand tall. That I'm getting emotional again. It's been a crazy 4 weeks. But that's really been a big motivator for me to push through any of those, oh, why even bother? Or I've been talking about this for so long, and I'm never going to get this book out into the world, or this sucks, it's too hard to figure out. Those kinds of mindset things. There's also a bit of a mindset block that comes up around, who am I to write a book? Who am I to tell my story? Who am I to do this? Someone else has already written a book on this topic, that whole thing. And I think that I just have to shift my perspective. I need to reframe that and say, who am I not to? And that's made a big difference to me. Every time that thought pops in my head, who am I not to do this? Who am I not to share something that has made the most massive difference to me? Who am I not to share it with others? So if you've got that in your head, that who am I to do this? Who am I to share my story? Who am I to write this book? I'm just a mom, I'm just a dad, I'm just stay at home, not doing anything, I'm just a whatever it is. You are also a beautiful, creative, amazing spark of light that is here to share what you do in the world with others, who's here to shine your light and explore your purpose and explore your story and share it with others in whatever way you choose. And so when you don't do that, not only do you not share that with others, which is tragic, but you also don't ever have the chance to shine. And that's even more tragic. So just push through, and give yourself permission to write your story and to share it with the world in some way. So support having to shift that perspective and say, who am I not to? That's made a big difference to me. Doing this work because it matters to me, and not worrying about what anyone else is going to buy or what anyone else is going to pledge, and just writing the book for me and focusing on that. That made a big difference to me. And just when people kept supporting me and telling me that they loved what I was doing, I just let myself believe them. That's made a bit of a big difference to me. There was something else that I was going to say, but I can't remember what it was. Some other mindset shift that made a big difference. My brain goes at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So if I think of another one, I'll share it over in the community. Just believing that your story is needed and your words are needed and your work is needed in the world, that you do have something to add. That's helped me a lot too. Just reminding me, I do a lot of trying to reframe things, catching myself where I'm feeling stuck and trying to reframe things, and trying not to I always say, don't let that negative stuff become permanent graffiti on your lighthouse wall. So rewrite it, reframe it, and put the positive up on your wall instead. Yes. So those have been some big things that helped for sure. All right. I have been talking forever. I hope I've given you some ideas and some things to share. I'm going to put some links below, and I've got all these notes and stuff. So I'll make a little checklist and put that below this video as well, so that you can use it as a bit of a checklist to help you, and you can add stuff to it as you go. And if you come up with great resources and great inspiration, please share with me. I think I probably have some more words in me, some more book in me to share again another day. So any inspiration that will keep me writing and keep me sharing my story is very valuable. So thank you. Thanks for joining me in the chat, and just never forget that you are here to shine your light. So get your story out into the world. We need it. Thank you. Bye.